The landlord's fist pounded the door like a death knell. I froze, my heart sinking faster than our bank account. My name's Tom, and life with my pregnant wife, Lila, was a tightrope walk over a pit of despair. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a crumbling building on the edge of town, where the walls whispered mold and the heater coughed like a dying man. With Lila 8 months pregnant, every day was a scramble to keep the lights on, the fridge stocked, and our dreams from shattering. I worked double shifts at the warehouse, hauling crates until my back screamed. Lila, once a vibrant artist, hadn't painted since the pregnancy drained her energy. Her swollen feet and constant nausea kept her tethered to the couch, but her spirit burned fierce. We'd been scraping by, counting pennies for diapers and dreaming of a better life for our unborn daughter. But last week, Lila did something that turned our fragile world upside down. It started with a fight, not the yelling kind, but the quiet, seething type that cuts deeper. I came home bone-tired, my hands raw from lifting, to find Lila hunched over her laptop, her eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. "Tom," she said, barely looking up, "I've got a plan to fix everything." I should have known better than to trust that spark in her voice. Lila's plans were like fireworks, dazzling, reckless, and prone to explosions. She joined an online group, a mix of activists and dreamers who called themselves the Free Collective. Their manifesto: rent was theft, landlords were leeches, and housing was a human right. Lila, fueled by hormones and desperation, had drunk their Kool-Aid. "We're not paying rent anymore," she declared, slamming her laptop shut. "I've sent Mr. Grayson a letter. We're demanding free rent until the baby's born. It's only fair." I stared at her, my jaw slack. "Lila, we can't just. Grayson's not some charity. He'll evict us." Her eyes flashed. "He's a slumlord. Tom, this place is falling apart, and we're barely surviving. I'm doing this for us, for our baby." Her voice softened, but her resolve didn't waver. "The collective says if enough tenants stand together, landlords back down. Trust me." Trust her. I wanted to. God, I did. But Grayson wasn't the type to negotiate. He was a vulture in a cheap suit, with a ledger for a heart and a lawyer on speed dial. I begged Lila to reconsider, to let me talk to him, maybe work out a payment plan, but she was a wildfire, unstoppable. She rallied 3 other tenants in our building: Mrs. Carter, a widow on a fixed income; Diego, a single dad with 2 kids; and Jamal, a college kid drowning in debt. They signed her petition, and for a moment, Lila glowed like the artist she used to be, painting a future where we all stood tall. The next day, Grayson showed up. His knock wasn't a request, it was a demand. Lila opened the door, her belly prominent, her chin high. "We're not paying," she said, thrusting the petition at him. "This building's a health hazard. You owe us, not the other way around." Grayson's smile was a knife. "You think you can play Robin Hood with my property?" He scanned the petition, then tore it in half. "You've got 1 week to pay up, or you're all out." That night, Lila cried in my arms, her bravado crumbling. "I thought it would work," she whispered. "I thought we could fight." I held her, my own fear clawing at me. I loved her fire, her belief that the world could bend to her will. But the world doesn't bend for people like us. Over the next week, I worked overtime, scraping together half the rent. I pleaded with Grayson, offering every cent I had. He didn't budge. "Rules are rules, Tom," he said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Your wife started a war she can't win." Lila, meanwhile, doubled down. She posted about our fight online, tagging the Free Collective and local news outlets. Her posts went viral, painting Grayson as a heartless tyrant. Strangers sent us messages of support. Some even donated a few bucks. For a fleeting moment, it felt like we had an army behind us. But Grayson had the law. On the 8th day, the eviction notice arrived, taped to our door like a scarlet letter. Lila's face crumpled as she read it. "This is my fault," she said, her voice hollow. I wanted to scream, to shake her for dragging us into this mess. But I saw the fear in her eyes, the weight of her love for our unborn child, and I couldn't. Instead, I pulled her close, promising we'd find a way. We had 3 days to vacate. Diego and his kids were already packing. Mrs. Carter was calling shelters. Jamal dropped out of school to move back home. The collective's promises of solidarity faded as their leaders ghosted us, leaving Lila's dream in tatters. I scoured the city for a new place, but with our credit and my measly paycheck, every door slammed shut. Then Lila had another idea. "We'll stage a sit-in," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "We'll chain ourselves to the radiator if we have to. They can't drag a pregnant woman out in front of cameras." I wanted to believe her, but I saw the exhaustion in her face, the way her hands shook. She was fighting for our daughter, but at what cost? The night before the eviction, we sat in the dark, the power cut off for non-payment. Lila rested her head on my shoulder, her breathing uneven. "Do you hate me, Tom?" she asked. I swallowed hard. I hate this situation, but you never. It was the truth, raw and aching. Lila's choices had pushed us to the edge, but her heart was why I'd married her. She believed in a world where people like us could win, even when the odds were stacked against us. At dawn, the sheriff arrived with Grayson. Lila stood in the doorway, her hands on her belly, defiant to the last. "You're taking a home from a family," she said, her voice steady despite the tears. Grayson didn't flinch. The sheriff, a tired man with kind eyes, looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. We didn't chain ourselves to the radiator. We didn't have the strength. Instead, we packed our lives into garbage bags and left, the weight of failure crushing us. A neighbor took us in temporarily, a small act of kindness in a sea of cruelty. Lila's posts still circulated online, sparking debates about housing and justice, but they couldn't undo the eviction. Weeks later, Lila gave birth to our daughter, Hope, holding her. I saw Lila's fire in her tiny eyes, and I knew we'd keep fighting not with petitions or sit-ins, but with love and grit. We found a new apartment, smaller but ours, paid for with every ounce of my strength. Leela started painting again, her canvases filled with bold colors and quiet defiance. Our story isn't over. We're still scraping by, but we're together, and that's enough. Or is it? Was Lila's rebellion reckless or righteous? Should we have fought harder, or was surrender our only choice? Share your thoughts. What's justice when the system's rigged?